Everyone. Hope you all are safe and healthy, and I wish the same for all of you and your family. As we know, there are different mediums of expression in literature. Poetry is considered and most appreciated means because it is also called the speaking picture. Picture because it expresses the views of an author and it conveys his feelings directly to the reader. So here I shall discuss the poem of Percy B. Shelley, that is Ode to the West Wind, how he has translated his thoughts, feelings, his experiences of life in his remarkable ode. And it is also considered his best known lyric because he was a reformist, idealist, and also a visionary. So we shall first of all discuss the origin of the ode to the West Wind. It was written and published in the Prometheus Unbound volume in 1820, that is the early half of the 19th century. It was conceived when the poet himself was visiting a forest near a place called Florence, and he experienced the mild as well as the forceful effect of the west wind in the season of autumn. The poem is suggestive that it is largely autobiographical because it portrays how Shelley experienced disturbances in his personal life, but to a large extent it is also global and largely human because it conveys his ideas, how he wanted to usher a golden age where there would be no tyranny and equality for all would prevail. Now, first of all, we should also know about the author who penned this remarkable poem. Percy B. Shelley belongs to the early 19th and late 18th century. He died at the early age of 30 by drowning in an accident in a boat. He is considered as one of the greatest lyricists and a philosophical and a metaphysical poet. He was a visionary and was greatly influenced by the French Revolution. From this we can assume from where did he get his revolutionary and the reformist zeal. And some of the great contemporaries of the poet were Oscar Wilde, John Keats, whose poem is also in our course. He was blessed with a deep and political interest and a great ability to link the human aspect with nature. He was a great lover of nature. Now I would give a small introduction about the poem. The poem is an ode which is addressed to the west wind. It was penned when he was suffering from, I told you, personal disturbances. It expresses both his pessimistic as well as optimistic outlook. Pessimistic because of his personal grief, and optimistic about a golden era or a golden age. Now, the poem is a great inspiration to mankind because it gives us a new hope of a new birth and a new resurrection where everything would be full of energy and life and the grief of the people would almost come to an end. So the spirit of optimism is highly embraced at the end of the poem. As we come to the text, it is a complex lyric which is made up of 5 stanzas. The first, second and third stanza speak about the effect of the west wind on land, the air and the sea respectively. So the first deals with the effect of the west wind on the land. He addresses the west wind and calls it wild or savage as it cannot be tamed. And it expresses the effect of the west wind on the leaves because he experienced the west wind in the autumn season, and we know that in autumn the leaves are shed from the trees. So those leaves have been described in various colors, that is yellow, black, pale, pale means light yellow, and hectic red, that is dark red. So those leaves, when they fall from the tree, are driven by the effect of the west wind, just like ghosts who flee from an enchanter. Enchanter means a magician. So just as a ghost would try to run away from a magician, so these leaves, they run away as the west wind approaches them. So with the help of a simile, we see here that the west wind, the dead leaves have been compared to ghosts. Then he says, the pestilence-stricken multitude, one of his well-known term, and a different kind of comparison which we do not see in literature very often, which makes the poet metaphysical, is pestilence-stricken multitude. Pestilence means any epidemic, as COVID-19 is a pandemic, and it affects a lot of people. A lot of people lose their lives due to the pandemic or epidemic. So in the same way, he says that the leaves are like people who are dead and they are lying on the ground due to some great epidemic. So those leaves are driven by the effect of the west wind. O thou, so he says that west wind, you are the one who chariotest to the dark wintry bed. Now he has shifted his image from the leaves to the seeds, and he says that those seeds which have wings on them, they have wings because they are driven by they have wings, so they are driven by the effect of the west wind and buried under the ground just like a corpse. Corpse means a dead body which lies in its grave. So those dead seeds are also buried in the ground until the spring comes. So till the spring season, those seeds, they lie under the ground, waiting for to be germinated. Then the spring comes, and with the help of the personification, spring has been compared to a lady who blows her horn and arouses the sleeping earth and awakens it, arouses it, so that those seeds can get a new life, a new plant can come out from those seeds. So the west wind, the wild spirit, which are moving everywhere, it is everywhere, its presence has been felt everywhere, has been described both as a destroyer as well as a preserver. Destroyer because it destroys those dead leaves, and preserver because it preserves the life in the form of the seeds and gives them a new life. Now in the second paragraph, the effect of the west wind in the air has been described. Because of the west wind, the sky is into a commotion or a confusion, as the clouds that lie on it has been compared, like with the help of a simile, to earth's decaying leaves. Those clouds are shook by the effect of the west wind from the tangled boughs. Boughs means the branches, and the tangled means those which are entangled, or those who are amongst each other. Clouds have been compared to branches as being branches of heaven as well as ocean, because the formation of clouds here has been referred to it. The clouds are formed by the vapors of the ocean and in the heaven or in the sky. So those clouds are also shaken by the west wind, effect of the west wind. Those clouds are the angels, referred to as the angels of rain and lightning. As we know that clouds strike with each other to cause lightning, or they condense to form rain. So those clouds, they are spread on the blue surface of the whole sky by the effect of the west wind. Just like leaves are spread on the ground, the clouds are spread on the sky with the help of the west wind. And those clouds are compared with the help of a simile to the bright hair uplifted from the head of some fierce Mænad. So here Mænad means it is a lady who prays to the wild god of wine. So just like a wild lady whose hair get uplifted by the effect of the wind, similarly the clouds are spread in the sky, and those are spread from the horizon to the zenith, that is the topmost level of the sky. Thou dirge, and the west wind has been referred to as the dirge, that is the death song of the dying year, because it signifies that a new year is about to come. The vaulted with thy and those clouds spread as the congregated, that is the aggregated or the collected might of vapors. As we know that clouds are made of vapors, and they cause black rain, black because it may be in the night, rain, fire and hail, that is the hailstorm. Oh, hear. So now he calls the west wind, that I wish to say something to you, I wish to pray something to you. So please, west wind, who are full of force, listen to me. In the third paragraph, the effect of the west wind on the Mediterranean Sea has been described with a lot of metaphors and similes, as it has been done in the earlier two paragraphs. So he says that west wind awakes the blue Mediterranean Sea, which lies in its dream or visions, and those streams have been described as crystalline, that is crystal clear, besides a pumic island. Pumic means any island which is made of volcano, the lava of the volcano. In the Bear's Bay, Bay is an island. Bay is the bay of the bay has been referred to as the Bay of Naples. So the Mediterranean Sea, in which the images of old palaces and towers quivering, that is shaking. We know that in the wind, in the sea, if the wind approaches, it starts shaking. So the images which are present in the sea, which can be reflected in the sea, those also start shaking or shivering because of the west wind. So it appears that the palaces and towers are also shaking by the effect of the west wind. And those towers and palaces are all overgrown with azure, that is blue colored, moss and flowers. That is, the algae and flowers are grown because those towers and palaces are old. So sweet. And the west wind has been referred as a sweet effect because it is full of fragrance and pictures those palaces and towers. When the west wind blows, its effect on the Atlantic Ocean has also been described as it cleaves, that is, divides the west wind into chasms or currents or into two halves. While far below, and as we know that at the lower level of the sea, in its depth, there is vegetation on the lower ground. So those sea blooms, that is a vegetation lying at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea, those also get affected by the west wind. That is, its effect reaches even deep under the sea, dividing the ocean into two parts. And by its forceful effect, the sea blooms, that is, blooms means the flowers, the undergrowth of the sea, the sapless, that is without any thick stem, the foliage, that is the vegetation of the ocean, also starts shaking when it hears the voice of the west wind, and they become grey with fear of the west wind, because they fear that the west wind may destroy us, and tremble and despoil themselves. And sometimes the vegetation also despoils, that is, it comes out of the ground because of the west wind. So Shelley wishes to convey that the effect of the west wind is vast on the land, the air, as well as the sea. In the next two paragraphs, he personally requests the west wind to give some of its power and strength to him, for he demands it for himself. And this fourth paragraph is one of the most famous paragraphs of literature. It is renowned because of its effect and its autobiographical touch. Here the poet prays that he wishes that if I were a dead leaf, he wishes that he were also like a dead leaf, a swift, that is a fast cloud, or a wave, just like the effect on the land, sea and ocean, the sea and the clouds. He says that I wish that you had some effect on me also, just like these three aspects of nature. I wish to feel the impulse, that is the strength, the power of the west wind, but I wish to be only less free, that is somewhat less freedom I want as compared to the west wind, because he may not be able to hold that much energy in himself. Oh, uncontrollable. And he calls the west wind as a power which cannot be controlled or stopped. So he wishes some of the strength of the west wind for himself, and he says he remembers in his he is nostalgic about his boyhood days when he was just a boy, and he used to be the comrade, that is the friend of thy wanderings, of the wanderings of the west wind over heaven. That is, whenever the west wind blew, the poet, he also ran along with the west wind, and he felt that he had the same strength of the west wind. So he wishes that I were in my boyhood days. Either I should be in my boyhood days, or you give me some of your strength to me at present, so that I would outstrip, that I would beat thy sky speed, your speed in the sky. Scarce seemed a vision. And he says, remembers his boyhood days, and says that at the time of youth, overpowering you or beating you did not seem to me a vision or a dream which I could never have achieved. So it is my prayer in my sore need, in my utter need, in my utter depression or grief. I'm praying to you, O west wind, that lift me as a wave, a leaf, a cloud. So it expresses the real inner grief of the poet, that he's suffering so much that he wishes to escape this world where he's falling. He feels that he's falling upon thorns or prickles of life. Thorns here refers to the difficulties which he's facing in life, and he feels that he's bleeding out of grief and sorrow. So he feels that a heavy weight of ours, this time, it is playing its burden on himself, and he feels that he's chained and bound, that is, he cannot feel free, but he is tied to this time and grieving upon this. So he wants to become one too like thee. Thee means the west wind, he's saying you. So he says that I want to become just like you, O west wind. And how, which two adjectives he is using for the west wind, which he wants to inculcate in himself, are swift and proud. That I want to become as swift, that is as fast, and take pride in my life as you do when you have your effect upon the whole earth, the clouds and the sea. In the last paragraph, he conveys his wish where he wants to translate his experiences and give a message to the world of optimism. So till now we have seen that the poet has described the effect of the west wind and then his personal grief. But this last paragraph ends with a different note of optimism and positivity. Make me thy lyre. He wants to become the lyre of the west wind. Lyre refers to a musical instrument, as the forest is. He says that just as you play you have an effect on the forest by blowing through it, by blowing through the trees, you produce a sweet sound. Similarly, you also make me your instrument of music. What if my and he says that what if my leaves are falling like its own, like the forest, the leaves of the forest also fall down by the effect of the west wind. Similarly, he says that my years are decreasing by age. So what of it? It doesn't matter. He means it doesn't matter. The tumult, because the disturbance of the mighty harmonies. Harmonies refers to music. So he says that by my music, if you merge your music into mine, a deep autumnal tone, a deep intense music can be produced if you merge your spirit into mine. So he wants to become one with the west wind. And he says that my life would be sweet though I am sorrowful or sad. So he wants to become, he says that my fierce spirit your fear spirit should be one with mine. And he addresses the west wind as the impetuous or full of energy, and he says that please inculcate your spirit into mine. Drive my dead thoughts over the universe. Now he expresses his greatest wish, and he says that I wish you to take all my thoughts, whether they are live or dead, and spread them over the whole world. Now here by thoughts he refers to his lines of the poetry, his experiences which he has penned down in this poetry. So he says, take my work and spread them, that is, make them available throughout the world like withered leaves. As you spread those withered leaves, or you spread those clouds or the waves, similarly spread my words among mankind. So by the incantation, that is by the singing of this poetry, you scatter this poetry just as. So here also he is using a simile where he is comparing his words, his thoughts to the ashes and sparks of an unextinguished, that is a glowing hearth. That is, he says that just as a fire is blown and ashes and sparks are left, when a strong wind blows, those ashes and sparks are spread throughout the ground. Similarly, you spread my poetry throughout mankind and give them a message that this unawakened or the sleeping earth will arouse by the trumpet, that is the drum of a prophecy that is future prediction would be announced, and you just tell the world through my poem that if winter comes, can spring be far behind. So he's giving a very positive message through the last line, which are also very famous in the world of literature. That is, if winter comes, can spring be far behind. Here winter refers to the sadness, the sorrow, the decay, and the spring refers to a new life, a resurrection. He says that if there are sorrows in our life at present, can spring or happiness be far behind? It is not far behind. We will soon achieve happiness if we keep hope and we are full of energy. So he praised the west wind to give that energy, to give him that energy, and the message, in the fourth paragraph, what he said, that I want to escape from this world, it certainly changes into a positive note at the end of the poem, which is highly appreciated and which shows his zeal for the coming of a new age where everyone would be happy. Now here I have given the analysis of the poem, which you can read, which will give you the short summary or the discussion of the poem about its thoughts and the theme. So you can read the analysis and the critical note, which discusses the style of writing of the poem. I told you that there are many metaphors and similes. Heaps of them have been piled in the poem, which also makes it complicated but also worth reading. Besides this, it is a lyric of great complexity and density, as in it a great thought